Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Um, we are here again with Liz after a few days of technical difficulties, and we're trying to find out, but just in case, we're recording this as well. And if we get bumped off again, or if it gets really slow, then we'll just fix it and post a recording. So, welcome. I hope you all had a chance to read the post that Liz so graciously prepared for us with the drawings. I hope you took them to the barn and looked at your own horse. But without further ado, we're going to talk more about vertical alignment and horizontal alignment. In the meantime, please do us a favor and let us know where you're from. Whether you're anywhere in the US or anywhere in Europe or France. Let us know how many horses you have, what you do with your horses in the comments. Whether you ride or just play, what style of riding, what discipline do you do? Do you jump? Do you dressage? Do you jump in a dressage saddle like my daughter is very good at? Anyway, so without further ado, here is Liz with Normandy Equine, and Liz, take it away.
Great, thank you. Well, first I'm going to do a quick little message in French because I have quite a few clients and students who have been saying to me, why aren't you doing this in French? Alors pour tous ceux qui sont en train d'écouter, qu'ils essayent d'écouter un petit peu en français, c'était juste pour vous dire que on va refaire tout ce qu'on fait en anglais en français aussi. Alors pour tous ceux qui sont un peu frustrés en ce moment parce que c'est tout en anglais, je vous assure que très bientôt on aura tout ça en anglais, en français aussi. Okay, so that was just that. So to all my French people. Right, so since we did have these technical difficulties, I did give some drawings. Now the drawings come from a really great book that I'm going to recommend for anyone who's a little bit interested in looking at anatomy. And so I'm going to switch this around. So this book is the Horse Anatomy Workbook. It is really good for students. It's fantastic for anybody studying to be an equine therapist, or there are even sometimes vet students that use it. It's a really fantastic book. So I'm going to just switch back again. Okay, so what I had written about since we were having these difficulties and couldn't seem to be able to do these lives without it going very slowly, is just for you to have a really clear idea of what it looks like on the inside of the horse. Now, some of you probably, like I have had the luck to witness dissections where you actually get to see live, well, live, not really live because the poor animal is dead, but where you actually get to see it, in flesh and bone. But if you don't have that opportunity, and some of you probably wouldn't want it because it's not always very nice, you've got the opportunity here to have a really good look as to what is going on the interior of your horse, and then where it translates on the outside palpable bony protrusions of the body. So this is why I had suggested to you that even though you might already be a really proficient anatomist and you are really quite confident with where bits and pieces are within your horse, to take them again, because now we're looking at specific, not just the entire horse and how it works, but specific bits of the horse and how they work together. Now, the reason I use the word alignment is because the human brain is very particular in how it deals with information. And one of the things that it does is when it doesn't have a clear picture in its mind, it starts to sort and go through its memory banks, trying to figure out what a concept means. And then it may choose something that is not quite what it is that we're trying to express. So again, words don't teach, and that's another thing that you've got to keep in mind. So life experience teaches. So what I'm telling you to do, and when you go and do it, gives you a little bit of life experience. So the other thing is that the concept of a circle, let's say, is quite ethereal to the horse, but the concept of the circle to the human being is very clear. But to a human being, the concept of straight is very ethereal, as opposed to alignment. So alignment, if we take the example I wrote about, which are the little building blocks that you may have had as a child, they allow you to visualize in your mind very clearly putting one block behind the other, or bringing one block back to the middle of two extremity blocks. So your mind has something to latch onto. It's a picture that we can all share. It'll all be a different picture. So if I say apple to you, I might see a green apple that's little. You might see a big fat red one. It doesn't matter. You know that an apple is an apple is an apple. You're not going to go thinking it's an orange. So here we're really trying to give you a really clear picture in your mind, so that when you're on your horse, you're not thinking straight as a straight line, but straight as in structures that need to be one behind the other. So this gives you really a clearer idea. So we're going to go back again and flip this around again. Getting good at this now. So we're going to look here again at the structures that align in the horizontal plane. So the first one is the occipital bone, and that is the bone that really is the last bit of the cranium of the horse, and it ties into atlas. So atlas is a great big bone right up at the top of the cervicals. It's huge. It's a very massive bone, very important bone, but we're really talking about the occipital bone, which is right in front of it for today. And then you move down and you get to the top of the withers. So the top of the withers, usually it's T3, T4, T5 of the thoracic vertebrae. But anyway, it's the palpable bony bit that sits right between the scapula. And then right at the end, you've got what is called the tuber sacrale. So they're the bony attachment bits that come right up at the top of ilium and sit over the sacrum. So you've got these 3 points that are your points of alignment. For therapists, they tend to be also points of tension. We work on these points quite a bit because they're very key areas where the horse produces or manages energy. So those 3 points need to be in alignment. But the one bit, so we're going to switch over here because here you can start to see the palpable protrusions on your particular horse. But what I'm interested in right here is this little thoracic sling, because where the shoulders are, and all of you know this, I'm sure, but the shoulders are not attached to the horse with bone. They are, we have collarbones. Monique, can you show us your collarbone, please? Yep, right there. So those collarbones there for us are really fantastic because they help keep our shoulders in place. Well, the horse doesn't have that. And there's a specific reason why, which we'll go into some other time. But what it does create is a real potential for deviation. If the horse is going to deviate out of alignment, it will be through the shoulders more so than any other part of his body. But what the riders tend to do is they try to micromanage the entire length of the horse's body by re-establishing something with the head, with their reins. Then they try to wiggle with their bums to try to get the back of the horse to do something. Then they're with their legs, they're trying to micromanage the hind quarters of the horse, and it all becomes very complicated, not just for the rider, but you've got to take in consideration that the horse has got 3 different messages that are being sent to his brain, to which he really has no, he doesn't have a clear understanding of. It would be like 3 people trying to talk to you at the same time. So for the horse, this becomes really complicated. So we will be telling you how we do it, how we make it very simple for the horse and the rider. But first, as I said before, we're prepping your minds. We're getting you ready to understand what we're going to be teaching you. So we're getting you ready to be ready, if you like. So that's a little bit of a review of the horizontal alignment points. And now we're going to move over to the vertical ones. So this is a horse from the front. And what I'd like you to just have a look at is the nasal peak. And that nasal peak is really the bit that, if you're like me, you love to stroke your horse's head. That's where you'll be stroking him to tell him he's a good boy or a good girl. And that peak is really one of the major alignment points that you want to be able to align with the sternum. So the sternum is the big bony bit that you see right here, okay, that attaches a lot of the ribs, as you can see. And when those 2 points are aligned, those two structures are aligned, you begin to have vertical alignment. And this is crucial because we're also looking at the supraglenoid tuberosity. So these are the little round bumps right here that when your horse is walking, you can see sort of protruding through his shoulder. And at those points give you a really good idea of where the shoulders are compared to where the sternum is. So what we're also trying to do is keep the shoulder blades equidistant from the sternum. So there's quite a bit of horizontal alignment that is going on. Now, it sounds probably a little complicated to you right now, but it's not. It's just to give you a visual so that when we are talking about alignment, you know visually in your mind a picture is created. A picture your brain doesn't have to go, well, what does straight mean? What does straight mean? What does alignment mean? What does it mean? It means bringing certain points of the horse's anatomy into alignment, into what we want to call straight. So the internal structures of the horse have to be aligned for the horse to be able to accomplish what we have generally called straightness. And it doesn't occur with rein, seat, and leg efficiently. You can get horses in a modicum of straightness / alignment, but what you won't do if you keep micromanaging those structures is you won't get balance. So alignment is really the gateway to balance, but balance occurs once we've got the horse aligned, and then we can determine from that alignment where he's placing his weight. So that's another little act. We will be talking about that in the future lives coming along. So I'm going to go back to me for a second here. Right.
So just back up quickly, the collarbone, why don't you show, because you're in speaker view. Not everybody can see me.
The collarbone is this bone that we've got right here. Okay, and it's fantastic because it keeps our sternum, which is right here. So on the horse, this breastbone, if you like, that we have right here is very defined in the horse because it's got the two pectoral muscles coming into it, and the two pectoral muscles go up like this and they kind of come down. It looks a little bit like a heart. So I always think of it, it's not where the horse's heart is, but not far, but it looks like a little heart. So that seam that goes at the middle of the heart, that's the attachment point of those pectoral muscles, and that's where your sternum is. So those are things that you really need to get very familiar with, because when you're looking at your horse now, so the sort of center line down his face and how that would align to sternum, it gives you a clear image. And what we're all about at Normandy Equine is clarity in your mind, so that you are not confused by the words that are being taught to you, things that have maybe plagued you in the past, like what does on the bit mean really? What does engagement mean really? Well, none of those things mean anything if you don't have a clear picture in your head as to what structure you're trying to teach the horse to maneuver in a certain way to be able to get to where you want to go. So this is what we're really doing. So we're taking you through these steps very slowly. If you were taking a clinic with us, or if you were in a workshop with us, we would be doing this a little bit more, you know, in bigger doses. But actually these little steps at a time are quite nice. It's just a bit frustrating that we've had these technical issues to deal with. So again, you know, these are available online. These pictures, we put them up, print them out, take them to the yard. Even if you're a therapist, even if you're a vet, it doesn't matter. Just look at these in a different light. Look at these points now in a different light, because they are the gateway to balance. And balance, as far as I'm concerned, is the foundation to everything else. Once we have got balance, we have got rhythm, we have got alignment, we've got all the little bits and pieces that we need so that the horse can respond to the questions that we're going to ask of them. So we are also going to be talking a little bit in the future, and I'm just introducing it today, about focus. Again, we're preparing you mentally to make some changes for those of you looking for changes, for those of you looking for different answers, for those of you looking for another strategy to implement into your horse life. If you're happy with everything going on with your horse, then you don't need us, but you might want to listen anyway, I don't know. But if you are having some problems, or you don't quite understand, you're not quite clear as what's going on, then we're hopefully going to bring you that clarity. But focus is key. So human beings do have trouble focusing because our minds are conditioned to work on thinking all the time. And according to neuroscientists, now you may need to check this particular piece of information because possibly it's moved along a little bit, but from some of the research I did, it's 1.8, every 1.8 seconds a new thought is generated. So, and those thoughts come from everywhere. They come from our past, they come from our now, they come from our future, they come from our environment. So there's all sorts of things that our brain is having to deal with that is producing these thoughts. When you go to ride your horse, you need to be able to focus on your horse, and you need to be able to not focus on what you think your horse should be doing. You need to focus on what your horse is capable of answering on the day that you're working with him, and that every day your horse will change. It's not, you know, it's not the same horse sitting in that stable or sitting in the paddock every day, because you are not the same person every day. Well, neither is your horse. It depends on what mood you're in. It depends what's happened to you. It depends how you're feeling. It depends on all sorts of different factors. Well, the same thing is true of your horse. So approach your horse every day as though he is a different horse. Don't start predetermining what's going to happen with him because you've had an experience with him, and then that's what he's become. So the extremes of those that I see quite a bit of is, my horse is a rearer. You know, well, the horse reared once, the person, you know, may have fallen off. The horse may have decided that was quite a good way to get rid of the rider he didn't want on his back, or he was just rearing because he was afraid of something. Who knows? I'm not in the head of the horse, I don't know. But once he's been labeled a rearer, that is exactly the behavior he will keep offering, because that's the behavior you expect. So remember, horses are very, very good at reading emotions. They're very good at reading your scent, and they're very good at reading your body language. So whatever you've got up here stuck in your head as a picture of what your horse is, well, that's what you're going to get as an offering from your horse. So this is where I've been really successful with getting horses to stop offering negative behavior. It's because I don't see them as a rearer or a bucker or a bolter or any of those things. I see them just as a horse. I see them as a horse. I see them as what they are. They are a horse. And then together we figure out better strategies for them to use to be happy in their lives. So focus is something that we will be talking about, but one of the things I'm going to give you as homework is two things. One of which is, when you go to the yard, no matter what, or stables, depending on what country you're in, no matter what state of mind you are in, you have got to leave everything at the door, because most humans are parading around with an invisible cortege behind them of their husbands, their wives, their children, their family, their friends, their work, their house, their problems, their, you know, and all of that is very heavy for the horse to have to carry and deal with. So park all of that at the door. So that is the first exercise. And if you have trouble with that and you don't quite know what to do about it, you can ask that question, and we will give you some little exercises to use. And then the other bit of homework, for those of you that are into our bits of homework we're giving you, is I'd love for you to observe or look at photographs of 10 horses that are dozing standing up, and then 10 horses or photographs, there's loads of them online, of horses that are lying down, either sternally, which means that they've got their legs curled underneath them and they're dozing in that position, or lying completely flat out to have a real proper deep sleep. Because there's common points to all of those horses in the way that they do what they're doing, and that also comes right into all of this alignment chat that we've been having. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. There's already quite a bit of information for you guys to kind of think about and start to wonder a little bit about, and we'll go from there. So vertical and horizontal alignment, and getting that clear image in your mind of what those structures are. Because then when you know that, then you can start to ask your horse how to use those structures slightly differently. And we will tell you how that happens.
I absolutely love this. And you know, you're talking straight to my heart. You are teaching me, and I know that if you are teaching me, you are teaching a whole lot of other people. So I really encourage everybody to take this to heart. You know, self-development focus doesn't stop when you enter the barn. It's where it accelerates. It's where it becomes even more prone, right? Because the horse will show you yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so leave it at the door. And thank you for reminding all of us to see our horse as a horse, not as a rearer, a bucker, or twister, or whatever we call them. Just love them. Love them. My daughter is excellent as that. Every time she gets to the barn, she just sees the most beautiful, sweet Eddie she can imagine. And it is really, and that it works. So focus. And yes, if you have any questions about how to focus better, how to get out of your head and into your, into your being a little better, ask us those questions as well in the comments, and we'll happily give you some hints and some suggestions. Thank you, Liz. This was phenomenal. And we'll let you all know when we will be back on. We're going to be either once or twice a week, very consistent, and we'll let you know beforehand when we come on again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Bye.